So that said, what might be the signs of us not having healthy boundaries? So some of the very typical symptoms, as I call them, of those, either in ourselves or in others, when we look at these particular symptoms, we know that this individual is needing to establish healthier boundaries. So the first thing is the inability to say no, right? That is such a huge, huge thing. Most of us end up wanting to please other people. We want to be people pleasers. We want to be liked by others. And and then what happens as a result of wanting to be liked by others is we end up saying yes to things that we don't resonate with. If one of my friends wants me to join them for a movie, and I don't feel like going to a movie, by saying yes when I actually feel like saying no, I am choosing not only to disrespect my own self, but I'm also choosing to share with my own subconscious that I don't know what it is to have healthy boundaries. I don't know how to say no. Now, part of the reason, and we'll talk about some of the why is it difficult to establish boundaries aspects just after this segment, is the inability to say no comes either because we have not seen anybody model it in a healthy way for us, or because when we were growing up as a child, anytime we refused to do something that our parents wanted us to do or our teachers wanted us to do in school, and we got reprimanded, we got chided for, how dare you say no, who are you to say no, you cannot say no, right? We hear those kind of statements, and that makes us really get wondering as a child, oh, does that mean I have no right to say no? That means I can never say no, right? So when you're as a child, you don't really process too much. Your subconscious, until 6 years of age, your subconscious is still very open and is ready to receive what you're experiencing. So the conscious mind is not fully formed to say, I take it or I don't take it. You don't quite have that filtration mechanism. And when you grow up in an environment where either at home or at school or in the friend circle where your no is not heard or is not valued, we grow up thinking that we cannot ever say no. So a lot of us at workplace, when we are being dumped with a lot of work by our manager, we don't have the ability to say no because we have not yet learned that we do have the ability, and we need to develop some virtues or some skills to be able to make that happen. That's pretty much it. So the first sign is inability to say no. And when we people pleasers end up saying yes to things that we want to say no to, we end up becoming doormats, right? That's where we know that we have not established healthy boundaries. The second symptom of not having healthy boundaries is the inability to receive. Now, this is the opposite spectrum, which is where you are, instead of having boundaries being treated like lines. Remember the definition of boundaries: a line. It's not a wall, right? So when we end up saying no to somebody offering something to us, when we know when we know it's time for us to share something from our end with others, but we close down because we don't know we don't have the ability, or we don't know how to be able to establish lines and treat them as boundaries with lines. And instead, we end up putting up walls in that place. So in these situations, we are blocking. We not only are not allowing ourselves to be open to others, we are not allowing others to even open up to us or receive from others. So this is the other spectrum of not having healthy boundaries, because you've gone the whole other extreme of standing up walls instead of drawing lines. On this side, when you mean to say no, but you don't know how to say no, you have no boundaries, right? So this is the two spectrums we're talking about, the two extremes. And then the other, this is totally to do with us. The first two symptoms are to do with us: the inability to say no because we don't have any concept of boundaries, and the treating boundaries as walls is where we are completely blocking everybody else without treating boundaries as lines. This is to do with us. When we look at two other symptoms of people not having healthy boundaries, is when we or others impose our will on other people. You must do this. You have to do this. How dare you say you cannot? And when you hear those statements, that those are basically, showing us the inability for us to understand that each of us have what's called free will. And when we impose our will on others, and this could also be a behavior we exhibit or somebody exhibits on us, either ways. If somebody exhibits this on us, clearly they don't have a concept of boundary, but we get to choose whether we can, we get to choose to establish that boundaries to say, no, you don't treat me this way. I do not allow you to treat me this way. I choose what I feel like doing or I want to do. I don't like, allowing other people to control you, right? So imposing their will on others means these people are either controllers or manipulators. Okay, so these are individuals who cannot hear the word no. They just don't have the ability to hear the word no. So this is the third symptom of not having healthy boundaries, is because you think everybody's at your beck and call and you get to rule them around or order them around. The fourth aspect here is confusing. There are two aspects of responsibility and a law, and the law of responsibility. We're going to talk about universal laws that play into establishing and governing boundaries. Three of those laws are inspired by this book, and the remaining are all inspired and channeled by me as I was seeking guidance, that we're going to talk about towards the end of this segment, towards the end of this session. So when we talk about responsibility, that's a huge law that's in play when it comes to governing boundaries. And the fourth symptom of not having healthy boundaries is confusing being responsible to someone with being responsible for someone.